Okay, so in this video, we're going to talk about modern SharePoint versus classic SharePoint, the evolution, and when you're building your SharePoint today, why you should be using the modern SharePoint stack. Okay, welcome to the new series, Building a Modern Intranet Using SharePoint Online and the Modern Technologies in Office 365. So in this series, what we want to do is actually walk through the process of building an intranet. As you may or may not know, I hate using the word obviously because it may not be obvious to a lot of people. But in some scenarios, or when Office 365 was first released, everything was built off the classic SharePoint. So now today, in February 2019, most of the intranets are more on the modern SharePoint side of the house. So if you go to any other conference, the SharePoint conference in Vegas or the Ignite conference in Orlando or whatever the case may be, you will hear time and time again about the modern intranet, and team hubs and all this other good stuff. But everything is based off the modern technology. Microsoft has no plans to invest more on the classic side of SharePoint. So now that you're in Office 365, depending on when you made the leap, you were probably forced to go down the classic. And that was just really a strategy of, let's get all this stuff out of our data center, push it up to the cloud, let Microsoft manage it. We know from an infrastructure perspective, we're optimized, and then we'll continue our day-to-day from there. But in today's world, and that probably was pre-2016, 2015-ish, right? But in today's world, now that we're embarking on Q2 of 2019, the capabilities are a lot drastically better, and the modern side of SharePoint is ready for prime time. So let me just kind of take you down the journey of what I've been through. So in this demo one, this was post May 2016, and I say May 2016, May 4th, 2016 is probably the critical date in Microsoft, especially from a SharePoint community, because I think that's when Microsoft really published their strategy and their plan to pivot from classic SharePoint to modern SharePoint and the new capabilities and just new ways of doing things. The issue, not really the issue, but the cons of that strategy, or one of the things to be aware of with the Microsoft strategy, is when they switched to modern, they didn't go in the vacuum and build everything, all the capabilities that SharePoint Classic had, and made those available in modern. So they actually had a data-driven process that says these are the most popular features used within the community based on feedback metrics, so on and so forth. These are the capabilities that we're going to build on the modern side of the house. Now, when they did that, they did an incremental release, more of an agile approach that says where are the critical piece, even if this is a critical web part, where are the critical features of this web part. Let's kind of rethink SharePoint from the ground up, make sure that it's cloud first, mobile first type strategy. Things are responsive. Page refreshes was a big complaint. Adding images to a page, which is a very simple task, was a 5, 6, 7-step process on the classic side of the house. How can we streamline that? How can we make that more easy and responsive? So on and so forth. So, they had their strategies or justification on why they did certain things, but because it was an incremental approach, it took some time for, especially being a consultant, to where you would recommend when it was good and ready to make that leap on the modern side of the house. And what I'm going to show you here is just some of the kind of like the building steps so we had since 2017, a year after this shift, and now to February 2019, where together we're going to build a modern intranet hands-on, and that's what this series is about. But it's good to take a look at where we came from and where we are today, so that way we're we can have a strategy on where we are today is just temporary, because 6 months from now or a year from now, we're going to have even more capabilities. So what is the strategy for us to take advantage of those? Okay. So here, what I have, if you're looking at my screen, this is actually a classic SharePoint site, but it's using the modern page. And that was the first step. It was like, a lot of you folks are on classic. We appreciate that. We understand that. But here's some modern capabilities that you can layer in on your classic site versus scrapping that site collection, recreating it, getting a tool like ShareGate to data pump everything from site collection A to site collection B. So they added in these modern pages, and that's what this is. This is just modern pages. All these drop-down capabilities are these sites that you go to. These are sub-sites within this classic site, and we're just leveraging these modern pages. So if you go modern page, you hit the pencil, you can change the background, and that's the other cool thing. If you're using a modern page, even on the classic stack, you still get the new capabilities that were just released, like in February 2019, December 2018, so on and so forth. So it's not like, oh, I have this modern page sitting on this classic stack and I'm kind of stuck. Any new capabilities that they release on the modern sites are going to be available in these modern pages, and the web parts are the same, and so on and so forth. So it's a very, very good strategy. So you kind of future-proof your initial investment, but then as we kind of go through, you probably would take a look and say, at some point in time, we need to draw a line in the sand that says, even on our classic SharePoint stuff, we need to start transitioning them over to the modern SharePoint stack. All right, so that's that. Again, sub-sites, our menu is kind of hokey. This is not the hub menu, and that's the thing. Being on the classic stack, you can't create a hub network, which is the hottest thing in today. The strategy, if you have a hub, is create your sites as site collections versus sub-sites. Warning, warning, warning. If you're on the classic stack of the house, do not follow a modern strategy and try to apply it on a classic stack, technology stack. That's like tying both your hands behind your back and try to do a championship boxing match. You just make things so much difficult for your team, and what should have been something very simple becomes very tedious and complex, and there's a lot of side processes, updating the master page, ensuring the content, well, not necessarily the content types and site columns, because you kind of get that with the hub. But like the look and feel, the navigation, and all the other stuff, you're going to have to build these sub processes to keep all those classic site collections in sync. So if you're on the classic stack, my recommendation, based on my experience, stick with the sub site on the classic stack. If you're on the modern stack, do follow the modern best practice, which is site should be site collections. Okay, so now let's take a look at the modern side of the house. Now, here is an example of I would call this a V2 of SharePoint, modern SharePoint. And this is when the hub network was presented. It wasn't, I don't think we took advantage of, I think I have it. No. This is before page layouts was a flexible thing to do, right? So this is before, because right now, if I go to edit this page, though I have this capability built in, when this page was initially built, we were not creating these different layouts dynamically per section. So, but that's what we're going to do. So when we build our new modern intranet, we're going to take advantage of the mega menu, which was just released for first release tenants, and I think that's another distinction to have. Profile on my tenant is set for first release, so anything new is going to be released to these tenants to have their profile set to first release. Not until they go GA, general availability, will they be released to tenants that have their profile set to standard release. And that may be mixing the terminology, that may not be the right wording of the setting, but the concept is the same. So we're going to take advantage of that. So let's do this. Before we end this video, let's go ahead and go to our SharePoint Hub and create a site, and let's just start the baseline for our modern site. Let's stay away from classic. We're going to use the topic design, which is an out-of-the-box layout, and then for the site name, let's just call this Demo 3, right? And I try to keep my demo numbers sequential because that talks to the generation of this evolution of where we were in which time frame. So this is actually going to be my 2019 site, my early 2019 site, and then probably later in 2019, probably in the fall or so, probably after Ignite, that's usually when they start talking about the latest and greatest features. We'll probably build a demo for or something like that. Okay, so here, let's put a little description here. Let's say Feb 2019 modern intranet, right? And everything else is fine. Click finish. Because this is on the modern stack, these take seconds to create versus a minute or two. And there we have it. So we have our placeholders, we have our sample web parts, and now let's just double check some capabilities. So if I go to change the look, you would notice that my change to look stack is populated with some very new options. So I can change the header, add a custom logo, I can change the background, I can for the navigation I have a mega menu option or a cascading option. And then for the footer, it looks like I can add a logo, I can turn the footer on or off, and I can add in footer links, which pops this open. All right, again, these are February 2019 or somewhere between this Christmas and February 2019 new capabilities and features, and that's just on the site level. So in the next video, what we'll do, I think we'll go ahead and establish our hub network. So we'll run the PowerShell script that's needed to make this into a hub site. And then we would just start playing around and filling these things out. But we're not going to do this blindly. And we're not going to do this on the cuff. We're actually going to go and follow one of the design patterns presented to by Microsoft. So if you do a Google search on SharePoint lookbook, this is probably as good as a pot of gold. And you have the SharePoint design site, and what the designers at Microsoft have done, they went through and had their design team and their UX team get together and say, hey, if we were going to give people samples to be kind of like a launching pad on how to lay out their modern site, or even give them something to look at, almost like a catalog book or a design book of catalogs of different sites, what would that look like? And in the SharePoint lookbook, you have, so one, on the SharePoint design page, you have principles, you have site pages, web parts. They kind of go, actually, this is all new. I don't know. I haven't read all through this. I was actually going to the site to find this one link here, but I have to go back and read that now, right? And hopefully I'll get up to speed before our next video. And that's the thing. I mean, this stuff is changing forever. I mean, I was just out here 2 weeks ago and I never noticed all those other structures and design principles and all that other good stuff. But in this lookbook, this is like a catalog that's showing you different designs for communication sites, for different intranets, for different industries type intranets. Content is all going to be, you know, filler content, but the design, the layout is what's key. So we're going to take a, so I'm going to go through and pick one of these out, and we're going to use that as our guiding principle or as our baseline, and we're going to walk through the steps of recreating that intranet. All right, that's it for this video. I'm super excited. I think this is going to be fun. I really wanted to record this entire process and this whole journey. I think it's going to be exciting, and hopefully we learn together. So go ahead and check that bell. If you're watching on YouTube, this is going to be YouTube, Facebook, whatever you're watching. But on YouTube, check the bell so that way when the new videos release, you get notified. If you're not a subscriber, go to the YouTube channel. Deshaun, just do Deshaun Clark, Deshon Clark, no E. Do a search on YouTube. Find me, subscribe to the channel. As I drop these videos, you'll be notified. And I'm very active in the comment section. So if there's questions, if there's concerns, or what ifs, I really need what ifs. So if you have a scenario that say, okay, how would I do this in the modern SharePoint? Please put those in the comments because we can use that to drive more topics and more concepts. All right, so that's it for this video. See you in the next video. And I'm excited and I'm ready to have fun.